Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
It's a natural.
I'm taking this very seriously. Good evening. My name is Denise Short. I am the chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee here in Exeter, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock, April 2nd, 2025. And here with me are members. Let's see, I'll start down there. Nina, Jackie, Jim, Julie, and Sarah. And we also have Kristen Murphy from the town Sustainability and Planning and Sustainability Department, and Dan Chartrand, who's our select board representative.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening. It is a lovely evening.
I like saying that to you.
Before we get started, though, I'm just going to take, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I'm relatively new to this committee and new to being a chair, and I went back and looked at what the mission or what the purpose of this committee is, just to refresh my my memory, and to, that's the thing that guides us. Why are we here? Why is this even important? And I have to say, especially in a time when government is going through changes, and we're thinking about what's the role of government, how does it fit with what our lives are. So our mission, according to the town website, is to guide the development of sustainability policies and practices for the town of Exeter that simultaneously promote a healthy environment, strong community connections, and economic vitality, including the establishment of the Town of Exeter Sustainability Office. So that's kind of why we're here, which I am very grateful to live in a community that values sustainability. Okay, so I think next on the agenda is public comments, and I do not see any people from the public wanting to comment. Do people comment online?
They can.
They can, but we would know that somehow.
Yeah.
There would be a chat or something. Okay. So then we move on to, we're very lucky to have a guest speaker today. One of the main areas that this committee is focused on and has been focused on is solid waste, and how the town manages solid waste, which affects all citizens. And so today we have a presentation from Dave Dingio. From Dover, the Dover Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And he's going to talk to us about a study that Dover did about their solid waste management, and talk about their approach and some of the findings, and then we will use that to inform the work that we're going to be doing, because our town solid waste contract is up pretty soon in 2026, I believe. So this should be an interesting presentation. So, Dave.
This going to work?
Yep.
Okay. Great. Thank you. My name is Dave Dingio. I'm the chairman of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for the City of Dover. We're a volunteer group. We are an advisory committee. We're structured pretty much like you are here, with citizens, volunteers, a representative from City Council, and a representative from the town, which is our solid waste manager. And I want to gavel too, so.
You can borrow this.
I'll have to put in for one. Anyways, back last 2024, I think 2023, Dover started exploring whether could we do our own trash pickup, recycling pickup. Could we make it cheaper? Could we do it that way? So the city went and funded a consultant to go do that study. And what that consultant found was their recommendations were to transition from manual trash collection, jumping out of the truck, picking up the bags, picking up the recycling bins, dumping it in the truck, and then move on to the next stop. Transition from that to an automated system with toters. I don't know if you've seen them. Rochester has them. The truck comes by, driver on a joystick, claw comes out, picks up the toter, dumps it in, sets it back down, moves on to the next one. So get rid of manual, go to automated. That was recommendation 1. Recommendation 2 was, how are you going to fund it? So they recommended, we're a pay-as-you-throw program. You buy the bags, that's what we do today. They recommended going to a utility billing system. That's done a lot in the country. I think it's pretty prevalent down in Massachusetts. So in our town, you get a water and sewer bill. I don't know if you get one here. Well, you would get a water, sewer, and trash bill. That would all come together. So that's what they recommended. And the third thing was who was going to do it, the city or a contractor. They recommended the city do it. So they presented that to city council. We got involved, and we established an ad hoc committee, which is a subcommittee of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, to study the consultant's report. Would it work for Dover? And get into this, it's a lot of work. We spent a lot of time as a volunteer committee. We tried to get business, people involved, other people that weren't on the advisory committee, try to get some diversity. We didn't have good luck with that. So the consultant presented in January of 24. We started the ad hoc committee somewhere around May of 2024. And we scraped together basically 3 volunteers, got the solid waste manager to be involved in it as well. And the volunteers were all on the advisory committee, and there's a lot of knowledge there. So they've been there for a long time, but didn't get the diversity we hoped for, but we forged ahead. The consultant's report said, you need, if you're going to go buy trucks, these automated trucks, you need a 2-year lead time. Your contract is up when?
26,
26.
next year.
So we were in the same boat. Our contract is up in July, this coming July, so our first recommendation was get a 2-year extension of the contract we have. We need time. And the big driver for going to automated was basically labor. The glory days of somebody going down the road and 2 people hanging off the truck, jumping off the truck, grabbing his bags, throw it in. There's 1 if you can get them. And I don't know if you've got missed pickups or late pickups or whatnot. When Waste Management gets in trouble, they have to call in other drivers. They may have to call a driver in from Dover to come serve Exeter, depending on, what they do. They have a lot of turnover, a lot of injuries. So that was one of the bigger drivers to go to automated. So during this process, we started looking into it. And then a contract extension came through. We wanted an extension offer, do business as usual for 2 years. Well, they came back with 2 proposals. One was do business as usual for 2 years, and then go look, see if you can find somebody else to do it, put it out to bid, we'll bid on it, we'll help you, and what will come next in the follow-on years. The second proposal they offered was, we'll do business as usual for 2 years, and then after that, for 5 years, we'll transition you to an automated pickup system. So along with the contractor's report, we had some hard numbers, and we could see their proposal, if they just did it 2 years versus 2 years followed by the 5. If you looked at the first 2 years, it was more expensive. They made it more expensive to do just the 2 year.
It's more expensive to choose to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and once we start looking in to where elsewhere was, for us, it was going to be Waste Management or Casella. Waste Management hauls the turnkey landfill right up the street from us, basically. Casella, I don't know where they go. I think they go to some incinerators down in Massachusetts or whatnot, I believe. So it might get you a better tipping fee, but they still got to move it. So we looked into that, and then we learned, and we met with Waste Management representative several times, and what he told us is, yeah, they need the 2-year on the trucks, and they can't keep drivers. They're getting a high injury rate. So this is the way the world's moving. So kind of pushed us in that direction. So we went and reviewed what Belmont was doing and Stratham. Take a look at their websites. They're very informative. I just went hiking up in New Hampshire, drove right through Belmont. They have their Casella canisters right out there today. So it's a pretty slick operation. So, but what they told us too was landfill space is drying up. Incinerator space is drying up. He says all the incinerators are at or near capacity. Up in Turnkey, they had to turn customers away for their what comes out of the sewage treatment plant. So, and the other thing was that Turnkey landfill is currently slated to close 2034. So we are keeping an eye on that too. My personal opinion, they got some pretty big lawyers. I think they'll get an extension, but we'll see what the state does, see how it goes. I'm not sure what they have for room up there, but it's been pretty close-lipped, and I know the state legislature is looking into that as well. So at any rate, we moved on to what the consultant's recommendations were. Let the city do it, do a utility billing system, and use toters. So we reviewed those sort of things, and we got some more detailed cost information. I think he quoted new trucks at like $350,000. When we checked with our people, it was closer to $425,000. So that in itself just started driving the numbers out of the city doing the operation. We took a look at what Portsmouth does. They haul their own trash and run their own recycling center. They have 6 employees for solid waste. They have another 6 employees for recycling. You need a route manager. These toters get damaged or need repair. Who's going to run out and do it? Somebody's got to go do that, pick them up, replace them. So you got to start thinking about the personnel that you'll need. I think Durham runs their own system, and I want to say they have 4. I'm going from memory here, so I think they have 4 on solid waste and another. I don't know. I think they got 6 total. I think to run their system. So, and they're having part of the labor problems now, is from what we're hearing too. They're starting to see labor problems trying to get and retain people. It's not the glorious job you might think it is, jumping out in the middle of winter and the high winds and the sideways rain. But at any rate, we determined cost-wise, put it out in terms of how to do that cost-wise, and it just turned out that it would go better with a contractor. They know what they're doing. I mean, you got to have one-way roads. How's this thing going to grab it on a one-way road? We got downtown sectors. We got to go figure all this stuff out, and they have the knowledge of how to do that. You have parking on the road. So what are you going to do? We got to go figure that out. So I presented this to the council where we were at. I didn't have the whole utility billing model hashed out by then. That was September. So I gave them what we had, and we're an advisory committee. We recommend that they should, yes, move to utility billing, yes, move to toters, but in contrary to the consultant, we said keep it with a contractor. So it just started to become very clear that with where we're going to take our trash. and how much, and the deal they gave us for the 7-year wasn't a bad deal. It has since morphed since then, but I'll talk a little bit about that later. But one thing from our experience was, one, it was a lot of work, and two, it changed all the time. The more you looked into it, the more things changed and whatnot. But we talked to a lot of towns. Our solid waste manager talked to, I think he talked to like 30 towns or researched 30 towns or whatnot, something like that. He talked to a few. And we talked a lot with Belmont and Stratham too. And then we came, down to how much is it going to cost? What's the budget going to be? Who are we going to need for people? I mean, what's the budget going to be? Who's eligible? What size toters are we going to offer? So we talked to a lot of towns on what do they do. We wanted to keep it simple. And we wanted to learn from their experience. So Dover services what they call 29 grandfathered private roads. I think it was from a previous contractor who got an insurance waiver to service those roads. Dover also, for those that private housing developments that aren't serviced, they can bring them to the nearest, they can bring their trash to the nearest city road. So that was all going to change, because it's not practical to wheel those carts out. And we looked at some of the other options to try to figure that out. We just came up blank. So what some of these other towns did was, you're a private road, you're on your own. 4 units or more, we're going to cut you out. Because, I mean, we were servicing some apartments and whatnot, a lot of big apartments with a lot of bags out front. So we're going to cut you out. But we got some people's attention too on that, so which is a good thing. Maybe not in a good way, but it's, it got them thinking about what's going to happen. So, and we wanted to keep the price reasonable. We allow private haulers in Dover. You can contract, you can call a private hauler, and instead of buying Dover bags, you can get a private hauler for X dollar weight of their education and marketing people behind it to make it go forward. So we kept in close contact with them on what they can do and what they, and we ended up recommending taking the 2-year plus the additional 5 contract.
So with the toter, is it a toter for trash and a toter for recycling?
Correct. So when we were looking at trucks for doing it in-house, we're thinking 3 trucks. This isn't like plowing the road. They got to move. There's going to be one on the street every day, So it's going to be on the street every day. You got to pick up every day. So you have to have a spare. And we also, that's the other thing, we needed a special mechanic for the special truck. So with special qualifications. So, that became a problem as well. So. And they also need, I'm told they need like 3 feet between toters so the claw can get in there. So when we start talking about picking up private roads or what we do today, lining up 20 toters on a curb, that wasn't just not going to be practicable, or even 8, 4 for trash, 4 for recycling. It's just too much time spent at the curb.
So people would have 2 totes.
Yes.
One, yeah. Wow.
So what we, and other towns offer various sizes, but what we proposed was, and based on other communities we talked to, a 65-gallon toter for trash, another 65 for your recycling. People say, I'll never fill it. I'm like, well, you got to cut up that cardboard, put it in there. It's a home delivery world we live in, so you're going to have a lot of cardboard, so you will fill it. And I think some communities offered a dispensation for elderly and disabled they could get a 35-gallon toter if they petition the city. And I think like Belmont had like 70 people ask about it out of 7,000 people or whatnot in their town. So that's what we proposed. We developed basically we developed mock budgets. So we went line by line of the current budget, said this line item goes here to the utility building, this line item goes here to the general, what we call the general fund, which, you know, the recycling center and whatnot, that isn't going to be funded by the people who get curbside collection. So we did that, and we put it in two terms. We put it in today's dollars, because we wanted to compare it to the private haulers. And what they charged, we came under, in my mind, we came under what they charged. So we would be the clear choice in that. And then we projected it out for the 2 years out as well, just to get an idea of what that would look like, could possibly look like. So I presented the utility billing model, and that was a lot of work too. So, I mean, this whole thing was a lot of work. Our ad hoc committee met weekly from May to October. We delivered a report. We delivered 2 presentations to City Council. And my personal time was a lot, because we were on a timeline too. You had to get to the extension. So we had to get the city time to get to extension. One thing we did was we made an assumption that they could roll, and I don't know if you can do that here, they could roll the trash component billing system in with the existing water and sewer software system. We probably should have vetted that further, but we didn't. And
So it will go out in the same bill?
right.
Is that what you mean?
Well, they will do that, but if we managed using the city's existing software system, you would just bolt on the trash. That was our thought. Of course, in computer worlds, you can't do that, I guess, as easily as they say. So,
Are they still working on that?
no, things transitioned, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we made our last, we delivered our report in October. I made my last presentation in January on the utility billing. Met with the city manager beforehand. And some of the things that came out of the presentation and whatnot, and the city manager said, and I think with the way they were going, was that software system is not so easily bolted on with water and sewer. You'd probably need a whole new software system, somewhere around 6-digit figure. Okay.
Wow.
To do an additional utility? So you'd have
Yes.
to get
A
software
whole new system is what they were
for
the
all-
finance people.
to do 3 utilities.
I don't know if it was just, I think it was just trash. They would keep the water and sewer. And they said they need another employee in finance. So, yeah. So that was something we should have looked, could have, should have, would have looked in easier. I mean, a little further, but we didn't. And once finance got a look at what we were proposing, that's what they said. So the proposal came, and after I presented, the city manager said, you know, I talked to him beforehand, and he was going to present that. Let's take all the trash, all the recycling, take it out of user-based. Not everybody uses police. Not everybody uses fire. Not everybody sends kids to schools, but that's spread over the whole city. So the philosophy is trash and, you know, health and safety and keeping things clean is part of a service that they should provide. He did say he could, they didn't have it developed at the time, but he was going to show them that he could, you know, per person it would save money, is what he said at that time back in January.
What would save money is going away from the pay-to-throw.
Yeah, it would
To
save,
the
I mean, per
automated
person,
system.
so, per household.
Yeah.
I guess they had a model or coming up with a model on that. I haven't seen it. So he got permission to move forward with negotiation. They're still negotiating. I was just told recently they're wrapping up, so it's imminent. He presented his budget. This is our budget cycle right now, because, you know, it'll start on July 1st for us, so city council's been since January going through, or February going through budgets and getting ready to finalize the budget. What he presented was, in this upcoming budget, to get rid of the user fee fund, put everything in the general tax base. So we'll see where city council goes with that. No utility billing, just put it on your home property tax. Again, the philosophy being, not everybody uses fire, not everybody uses police. So, and there's something to be said for that, so.
And that was probably less expensive than going to a new utility.
Getting a
Billing
software,
system.
getting somebody's trained. We talked about lead time for trucks. What's lead time for software?
And you're losing the revenue source of the sale of the bags, right?
Correct, yeah.
To make the operation more efficient
Yes, yeah,
and more sustainable.
right. So he's going to roll it all in the tax base.
Is there incentive to get people to recycle? So right.
That
the
was part of the
pay-as-you-
argument, yeah.
Okay.
Because we were the ones that came up with the pay-as-you-throw. That started in
Right.
Dover, in New Hampshire anyway, from what I understand. And so that was part of the argument. But, you know, my argument is the habit's established.
Yeah.
So,
What's the analysis of residential customers versus commercial and industrial customers and the size of the trash from one bundle versus another? Are you including, I'm assuming, Dover businesses in the trash pickup?
we are including what we call the downtown business sector. We're not including apartment buildings. We're not including, I don't know where they're settling on, you know, how big a unit has to be before you don't include them and they're on their own. A lot of them are on their own anyway. So, but,
You have like office parks and any manufacturing or?
No,
any,
no, they're on their own.
Large retail, big box stores, that kind of thing?
they're on their own, yep.
So they're separate from this?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the downtown businesses are small businesses, kind of like you out here, so. And we got to go figure out how we're going to take that one-way road in the middle of the day and pick up toters
Yeah.
down in that busy sector,
Yeah.
but.
And I'm not familiar with the form of government that Dover has, but what are you doing about public opinion on this or public education? You took a vote and a decision was made. How are you bringing the public along in what your plans might be?
Well, what we did was part of the 2 presentations I gave was part of it. There was no public forum other than that. They knew it was coming, and there was a lot of workshops on it, a lot of discussion at the city. And, you know, we didn't do a whole lot of outreach other than what we normally do. Everything's posted on, our meetings are posted like yours are too. Once a decision's been made, and I presume it's going to go to toters, our plan is to come up with a full-bore education system, so.
It is different. You're right, Jim. It's a city council form of government, so the city council makes the decision as opposed to our SB2 system where the voters make the decision.
Okay. And I had another question in your kind of looking at the industry. You have, commercial, private collectors. You have the 2 big companies, Waste Management and this
Casella.
They seem to, and I don't know much about this market. I mean, obviously, it's somebody's making a profit. Otherwise, they wouldn't stay in business. And is it to the advantage of the firms that do waste collection to keep all the towns in, say, Rockingham County separate and on their own, each negotiating an individual contract? Or would it make sense to form, in your understanding of how the market works, a trash co-op where multiple towns band together and try to get a discount from, they wouldn't go for that, or that's not a model that they would adopt, or?
I don't know. I've been thinking about a co-op for many years, but not been able to crack
Because it seems
nut,
that
but
they were able
with
to
it-
pick off each
Oh,
town
yeah.
separately.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And enforce their own
Yes.
rates
Yes.
based on,
The
and they
landfill-
they prefer that?
I'm not going to comment on that
So I think
because I don't know.
in my experience, there's 2 things. There's, it's probably advantageous for them to deal with each town individually. There's also the long, storied history of each town going its own way. The ability to regionalize services like this, there's so much bias against it in so many of these towns. Now, it would definitely, you would have to think that it would save money to go to a regional solution. You get scale, there'd be less sort of turbulence in the market if it was a private contractor that was providing. But these towns love to go town by town.
Right.
Yeah, don't tell us how to do it.
Right.
So that's my experience in
Right.
other avenues of trying to get this town
That's very
to
interesting.
look at regionalization.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I ran on when I first ran for the select board. And I ran smack into 300 some odd year history of each town likes to do it their way.
Right,
you know,
right.
on their own. So, it's not that it can't be done, it's
Right.
that there's a long tradition of not doing it.
Right. In your talking to other towns and all, was there any interest in moving to people driving to a transfer station every Saturday and dropping their own bags off, or was that an option for Dover, or?
We looked at that. We just think, one, where we're located, the permitting process would take years and years and cost, you know.
To build a transfer station?
We don't have a transfer station. I don't know if you do or not. We have a recycling center. So to take trash, we talked about that. It would be, I mean, just engineering costs alone would be quite large.
So that precluded you from looking at an operation like what Rye does, where everyone does bring their own.
Correct, it was just,
recycling and
yeah.
trash to a central-
If you could get one, it's 10 years out from what. Anyways, if you could get one.
So will Waste Management provide data on recycling and solid waste back to Dover and the amounts? I guess just to kind of tease apart if there's a change over time with the two toters.
They do
versus-
now, and they
Yeah,
will.
And
yeah.
they'll continue
Yes.
to report that
Yeah.
back to Dover, yeah.
And in the old days, we used to bid out collection separate and disposal separate. And we got 5, 6 bidders, viable bidders. Nowadays, we get basically 2, and I think 1 did not bid on disposal, one of the 2, because turnkey's right there. So, I mean, that's what we've been seeing.
What was some of the public comment like at the city council?
It was mostly on the private road things, and mostly on, I only use, there's only 2 of us, I only put 1 bag out of a month or whatever, you know. Yeah, well, you know, and that's the way a pay-as-you-throw system works, and it encourages recycling, you know, when it first came up. But the private road thing was pretty much the biggest issue, and I'm thankful that the people were civil and very respectful, which was good to hear.
Do you have single-stream recycling?
Yes. And we have a recycling center as well, so.
Yeah. How many employees at the recycling center?
We have 2. We have 2 employees total. There is a proposal for a 3rd employee in this budget. And I'm hearing that it's likely it'll go through.
And that recycling center is Waste Management picking up and bringing to your recycling center?
No, it is citizens dropping off.
Okay.
At the-
So-
Waste
so-
Management will pick up their containers. We have a brush pile that a grinder will come in once in a while, grind, take that away. We have a demo debris dumpster, which we charge for, goes over scale. And small businesses, small operations get charged differently than citizens on that. Metals dumpster, leaves, lots of leaves. Very, very.
So we have
Compost.
a similar operation, yeah.
Food waste, tires, electronics, Freon,
Yep.
appliances.
It sounds like a haul of hours to.
It was a lot of
to
hours,
slog through
and
all of that.
don't be disillusioned. It's going to go up. It's going to keep going up.
Yeah.
Landfill space is running out. You got to drive these trucks around. If that landfill closes, it's a whole new ballgame. Where are we going to send it? Pennsylvania. Got to get it there. Cheap tipping fees, but I do some driving in Pennsylvania, and you see the municipal solid waste trucks. Depending on the time of day, you'll see 6 or 8 of them on I-80. So don't know where they're coming from. New Jersey, New York, I don't know. But that's a long way. So hopefully they'll solve that and get at least an extension. But
How much was the consultant fees to run the original report, roughly?
I don't remember. I can get back to Christine on that. I don't think it was much. I want to say it was, I'd be guessing. No, I'd be guessing. There's so many numbers went through my head in the last 6 months.
Like,
Probably tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands.
It wasn't hundreds of thousands, no. We found that, I mean, once we looked into it and with our knowledge base, I mean, it was great. We needed it. We needed a place to start. And we needed those recommendations, and we agreed with 3 of them. I mean, 2 of the 3, so.
you recommend this company to work with, or the consultant?
I don't know who else to go with, so.
You're happy with the output that you got from,
It was good.
it was money well spent?
Good.
Okay.
I think so. Others don't,
Okay,
but like I said to them, we needed a place to start.
yeah.
And that gave us a place to start, and it gave us the trends on the industry we didn't know.
There's always folks that don't want to do studies.
Of course.
They think it's a waste of money. In our form of government, it's absolutely essential. You
Yeah.
have to have studies because you're trying to convince an entire population to vote for something. So if you don't have a study, you really don't have the authority to work with the voters. With the city council, maybe it's a little less necessary, but it's always a good idea.
It is a good idea, and we need a place to start. We did a deeper dive when we got into the numbers because we wanted to know, is this really the right thing to do, knowing what Portsmouth's doing and what Durham's doing,
Yeah.
and what their, human resources are for getting that done, and how much is it costing them, and now they're getting labor problems. I mean, we're trying to get mechanics to fix the snow plows in Dover. Can't keep them. Can't keep the truck drivers. Once they get their CDL, they move on to other jobs. So again, that makes it a contractor's problem to go figure out. Of course, you'll probably be paying for it in some way.
So you talked a lot about the solid waste piece. Were there any refinements in your recycling and collection of recycling approach?
Other than toters?
Yeah.
No.
So
I mean-
you never really dug in on like taking the single stream and trying to segment it out. And,
No, we didn't dig in on that.
yeah,
No.
you're
Just,
scared
I mean, the habit's established. They're just gonna, yeah.
to do single stream.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you didn't want to
No.
swim upstream on
right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot for citizens for what we got now, so.
Well, and your
Yes.
scale is how many? What's your population?
I think we're somewhere around 33,000. We think we're going to service about 7,200. I think Waste Management planned on servicing 7,800 homes.
Yeah. So
I think it's close.
You're not quite double our size.
Yeah.
So the scale is. Yeah, it's tough. It's a city, not a town.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
In your research of other towns and cities, what they did, was there anything that you found surprising, or like something stood out to you as like, oh, that's an interesting solution?
Oh, how they, just limited who's eligible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was kind of, surprising to us, who's eligible. We kind of had that feeling, so we might be doing something like that. Can't make everybody eligible because it's just, again, lining up those toters for, a 6-unit apartment. That's 12 toters potentially. That's on one curb. That's 3 feet apart. So it could take up a lot of curb. And we're seeing some of that now with bag and tags, just to that, we allow them to bring bags out to the nearest city road, which which we're going to change that ordinance, but in my opinion, that's what I would advise, being an advisory board, but we'll see how that goes. And, they get piled up to the bags.
We currently, if you have scale, you're responsible for it, right? The town doesn't include that. I'm thinking of like the mill, they have a private hauler.
We have, I believe we have a couple agreements like Dover does for private roads.
Right.
That were negotiated in the past, but generally it's just town roads that we cover.
And business-wise, again, the downtown is
It's
covered,
separate,
but,
yeah.
but
Right.
businesses out on Portsmouth Ave and Epping Road, they're on their own.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is really interesting.
So I think they're at the back end of the negotiation, should be signing shortly. There was talk, instead of getting the waste management toters, and I don't know what's been negotiated, so don't take this. There was talk, instead of getting the waste management with the waste management logo, put the City of Dover logo on them, can buy them after 5 years or 2 years, and depreciate them, and the city would buy them. There was talk of that. I think what this might be leaning towards is 2 years of doing business as usual, 5 years automated. And I think I'm just reading here, it might be another 5-year option after that. So there was a lot of negotiation between the city manager and waste management, a lot of back and forth since January.
And the 2 and the 5 and the 5, that'll take you to the point where
It's
Yes.
closed.
we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah,
That went through my head
that
too.
landfill,
Interesting.
yeah. So they're covering themselves there.
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right question, but is there incentive for people to reduce their production of solid waste? Like with the toter system of the 2 giant totes, recycling and trash, and if you're not buying bags, does that mean that people will just throw away more trash because they have a bigger container?
It's possible. It's possible they will. I'm just thinking the days, which I'll use, if I clean out my garage, I'm going to use as many bags as it takes anyway, so.
Right.
So I have the belief and the hope, quite frankly, that the habit is established. And it's just, you recycle what you can recycle. And people are pretty good from what I hear. So our contamination rate is somewhere with the open bins, somewhere around 8%. And if you go to toters where they can't see it, they say it's going to go up to around 12%. But
Great.
these things will also, that's nationwide. These things also have a camera. So, and they're all serialized. So like 2 weeks before we start, Waste Management is going to deliver a serial number to your address, and it'll be assigned to you. And they'll come by and they'll take a look, and they might snap a picture if your container's not out there and move on, because it'll have cameras too, and they'll be able to take a look as the thing's being dumped.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They'll probably be looking for lithium batteries more than, a number 6 plastic where it should be a number. It's not allowed. So that's what they say. So
So it's
so
like
we
the
had,
technology they use for tolls.
yeah, well, we actually looked at that model too, Easy Pass model. Go by and zap, because the consultant was talking about a RFID tag. Zap it, is that account current? Things like that. And
It's a
That
trash
sort of thing.
arms race.
Seriously.
but our Waste Management's telling us some of that technology is not developed yet, because we were looking at, can the claw weigh it? Back to your question, technology's not evolved yet.
It just seems like the writing has got to be on the wall that trash, like, why are we producing so much of it? How do we stop producing it?
And more importantly, how do we avoid inadvertently incentivizing trash. you know,
Exactly.
And more overtly disincenting.
Because at least with
Yeah.
the bags,
Yeah. Right.
you got to say that that doesn't incentivize everybody, because there's plenty of people who are just like, whatever, it's a bag, I'll pay for it. But, like, yeah, that's a little bit of my concern, because I think already the education problem is that trash just goes somewhere. And, thinking about 2034, that's nothing. That's like right around the corner. And so, yeah, if we don't send it to the landfill that we have now, Pennsylvania, or, there's no other place. And it just,
The price will go way up.
Transportation.
Yeah, if we're shipping not to Rochester,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
to somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, oh my God.
I know. So why can't we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of on a truck really trying to change people's habits and educate?
Also comes down to packaging.
It's packaging, yeah. Packaging,
Sure, is to package differently.
yeah.
And look in the grocery store,
There's grocery stores that have no packaging. That's in Europe, but,
Right.
Speaking of plastic bags in grocery stores, another agenda topic.
But you're right, I got a Dover bag, and I think I'm on week 5 right now. It's not filled yet, 30-gallon bag, so. And there's just 2 of us, and my wife works, so she's never home anyway, so.
And
But
Dover
I-
bags are more expensive than Exeter's.
Yes, there's a reason for that, too, I found out.
Oh.
So, yeah, we're well aware that we're the most expensive bag.
We'll
in-
wait until we're off meeting to find out why.
We don't think it should be that way in the advisory committee, but we don't have to manage the tax cap that the city is under either, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's
Now
easy
we
for
know.
us.
Yeah.
I'm aware of our time.
Okay.
And does anybody else on the committee have particular questions?
Are the trucks electric, or are there any electric trucks? Are they all gas or diesel or whatever?
They're not electric,
Okay.
from what I know.
That would be kind of nice, but
That's a good
I
question.
always wonder about how the electric truck will do in New England in the winter and how can it finish its route, but
So just asking for a summary, if there's like a few things that we should keep in mind.
trash costs will go up. Recycling costs more than dumping.
So recycling costs will go up more.
Well, yeah, I think it's more
Solid
per
waste
ton
cost.
because they technically weigh, they weigh less than trash. So, diversion's key, trying to get, in my day it was recycle, reduce, reuse. Now there's recycle, reduce, reuse, refuse to buy it. So, what can you do? Do you really need it? Can you reuse it? Can you fix it? Things like that. Utility billing, lead times. If you need, if you're thinking about trucks, you might or thinking about going to automated, which I think you'll probably be forced into it if you're going to go with a contractor.
Because of labor.
Because of labor. You'll need lead time, they'll need lead time, and you may start thinking about an extension. Learn from other people, what they did. We went to Belmont, Stratham, and a few others, and got some ideas. There will be hiccups. We know there's roads that truck can't go up. They're gonna have to go figure out how to collect them, so, with the route manager and whatnot, and not everybody's gonna be happy.
This has been so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank
Sure, no
you
problem.
so much. We really appreciate it.
And don't, reach out again if you need me. I'm on, Kristen, get a hold of me through the city website, or you can get a hold of me through the city website
Okay.
as well.
He's on speed dial with you, right?
Be happy to come back if you'd like, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very grateful. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. So he's leaving some presentation, materials of presentations he gave in the past. I'll get this scanned and I can make it available to you.
Perfect, thanks.
Oh, or that.
All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes, which are from February, because even though we have this ginormous, wonderful committee, we couldn't all meet in March, so February, and though Kristen had sent those out in March, does anybody have any corrections? They were pretty straightforward, and I think, Julie, you had done them? Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Welcome.
So I think we need a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes. Does anyone?
So moved.
Jim, and any discussion?
You need a
I'll
second.
second.
Yeah, you
Oh,
need
a second.
as well. Yeah.
Okay. And Jackie seconded. Now discussion? It's a controversial topic. Okay. And then we
Does
vote?
she get to
Yep.
bang the gavel again?
You do once they vote.
Oh, really?
Very
So
lightly.
now I say-
Much more lightly this time.
But now I say,
All in favor?
all in favor, say
Vote aye.
aye.
Any
And-
opposed?
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Gentle tap.
I've
okay.
never seen it done better. Tim.
I'll get better, I'll practice.
No, I've never seen it done better.
So I'm going to suggest switching the agenda just a tad, because our next item is the 2025 planning, which I view as a discussion that we will talk about today and maybe continue next meeting, although our next meeting is with the Energy Committee in May. But I want to talk specifically about the next item, the styrofoam collection event, just to make sure we really cover everything we need to, because that happens before our next meeting. So that is scheduled for Saturday, April 26th. And Kristen or someone has been doing a fabulous job promoting it on social media.
Oh, good, good. So you've seen it. That's
I've seen
good.
it
That's a good
everywhere,
sign.
yeah, and I've shared it. Oh, yeah, any of you who are on social media, when you see it, like it, share it, promote it.
What's the time?
Yeah.
So it's from 9 to 11 on Saturday, the 26th. Again, it will be at Public Works. Similar setup to what we have. The location there was really good for drive-through and drop-off. We again have the support from Keith Whitehouse, who's donating use of the trailer, which holds 10 bags. And then he fit another bag in his cab, which is why we were able to do 11 bags at the last event. We did talk about opening it up to a broader group, not just limiting it to the town of Exeter. I've had a number of members from communities reach out, Brentwood, Kensington, Kingston. So I think that we're likely to have quite a bit more material. The planning department does have a sustainability line item in our budget, and so my recommendation is to rent a box truck for this event. Because we talked about running these quarterly, I was worried that we would quickly burn that budget down. So on Monday, I went to the select board and received approval to accept donations. So during the event, we can accept donations to help cover the cost of the truck. And, yeah,
We'll
shake
have
the boot
cans.
or whatever. Right, right.
We could use
Save one of the styrofoam
containers. Oops, there's still a steak in there.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. Other communities
Yeah.
have used that model and received a ton of donations, so we'll see how it goes.
Originally, we were going to put a cap on the donations, but I think it's going to be so successful that we get rid of the cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll plan on picking, so in terms of need support for the event, it would be great if someone could volunteer to go pick up the bags. If you have a pickup truck or something, I put what we had before in the back of my car and it completely filled it. And I think we had done, I think, 20 bags. I suggest we probably do more like 30 to 35 bags. So a larger space would be helpful, or a bigger car. I just have a little.
Where's the bag pickup?
So that's also at Guilford. They're dirty, so, be sure if you put it inside something, you want to lay something down. I learned that the hard way too. But if anyone is available to do that, that would be great.
And when would you have to pick them up?
So the week before, and we can figure out a date with Guilford. It can be flexible, as long as they're picked up before Saturday, right? We'd need to have them before that event.
I could potentially.
Okay,
We have a Jeep, so.
Okay.
That would be big enough? The back of a Jeep?
so is it a four-door Jeep or a two-door? Because I had
the four-door.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, I could probably get a, maybe, a pickup truck too, but,
okay.
yeah,
Why don't we
Let me
coordinate
ask.
off, okay.
yeah.
Offline. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
It was really easy to pick up. You just show it, it's during their transfer station hours. You just show up and
Yeah.
they load them for you. The guys there were great. So that's fantastic.
Nice.
And then that morning before the event, I'll pick up the box truck. So if others could be there getting the site ready, that would be helpful. Similar setup and signage, I think we can improve on over last time. And then volunteers for the event, so.
How soon do you want us there for setup? 8:30, 8?
Yeah, I think 8:30 at least.
So 8,
Yeah,
okay.
just to get the cones
Yeah.
out, the sign on the road. Be sure that we're ready to collect, because we only have a 2-hour collection window, and we really don't want queuing on Newfields Road. So we got to get people in and organized. There's a lot of space to queue within the property, so I don't think it'll be an issue, but I think we need to be ready to go a little bit before 9.
I've blocked off from 8 to 11. so
Perfect.
I'll be there.
Yep.
So who all from the committee can be there that morning? 1, 2, 3. Nina and
Probably
Jackie?
be there for a little bit.
Okay, it looks like, and I can be
Yeah,
there.
I can be there.
Excellent.
Is that everyone? Nice.
So we might have full committee participation.
That's great.
What else?
And then the other part is returning the materials, so there's volunteering during the event. I know Keith will drive the truck up. It would be helpful to have another person ride along, just because once we get there, we need to unload all the bags. So at least one, or, probably just one more person to help
Okay.
load. All told, it was probably 3-something by the time I got back. Well, although I went back to Dover, maybe 3:30.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that somebody
Great.
can do that on that day. I'm not worried about that. I
Okay.
mean, I could do it if no one else wanted to do it, so.
Okay, great. So it sounds like we have an event.
It's very exciting.
And like you said, Denise, even if you don't think your friends will be interested in seeing it, if you like and share, it's more likely to show up in other people's feeds. So please engage with that. Comment on it. It's on the community forum pages. It's on the Conservation and Sustainability Facebook page. So anywhere you see it, please interact with that posting.
All right. So that was the Styrofoam event on April 26th. Let's just go. I kind of want to come back to planning what do you think, if, as the last item, and then we'll just see how far we can get, because I'm aware it's already 8 o'clock. And I've forgotten, do these meetings usually run however long, an hour and a half, or is there?
Typically wrapped it up in an hour, but we have not had
Yes.
presentations, so.
So I would definitely like to keep it to an hour and a half, I guess, just to respect everybody's time. So let's just quickly go through the other items to make sure we're not missing anything. Thank you again. Really appreciate your time. So the solid waste subcommittee update, well, we just had a great presentation. And Chetna and Chris are not here, and I think they are the solid waste subcommittee.
They are. So Public Works was wanting to get some potential dates for a tour of waste management.
Oh, yeah.
Is anyone else from the committee planning on going on that tour?
I'd like to, depending on.
I would like to, yeah, depending on the timing of it.
And can weekdays work?
Yeah. I mean,
I can make that.
with notice, I think that's possible, whoever is able to go.
Okay.
So maybe they come up with a couple possible dates, and then we'll just see.
Sounds good. Great.
Police and Fire Station Subcommittee is actually me and Ryan is not here, but Ryan did meet with Dave Sharples a couple weeks ago and just kind of checked in, and there's nothing current going on there, but he's going to keep in touch with Dave. And our next meeting is going to be on May 14th, which I believe is a Friday.
A Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, it is a Wednesday,
Yeah.
okay. But it's at 3:30, and that's, we're going to meet with the Energy Committee, which I think should be fabulous, and sort of discuss what they're doing, what we're doing, and hopefully as many of us can be there as possible. And that's here?
Yeah,
And what's the time on that?
3:30.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we thought it would be better, since SAC came here last time, to kind of reciprocate this time around and go to their standard meeting
Yep.
time.
People will make it at 3:30
Yeah.
Wednesday from our committee.
Yeah,
Say that again?
it'll be
How
tough.
many people will make it at 3:30 from our committee?
I can rearrange my work in advance, since I know in advance. It's possible something will happen at the last minute and I wouldn't be able to make it, but I'll try. But I know that's not possible for everybody.
Anybody else will be?
I'll be here.
I can make. Oh,
I think I can make it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'll be
Can you,
around there.
neither?
No, I don't think I'll be
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I mean, they flexed for us last time we
Yeah.
met, so.
yeah, no.
We're
as long
returning
as
the
there's,
favor.
like,
Exactly, as long as we can
something.
get people here.
Yeah.
But if you can't make it, I mean, work comes first.
You can always watch the film afterwards. And the next item, so we got some correspondence that Kristen passed along to me from Durham. The town of Durham has an integrated waste management advisory committee about a plastic bag petition that they asked if we would be interested in signing and promoting. And I don't have it in front of me, but I think it would be a great thing if we got behind that.
So basically, what Durham did was they advocated to Durham's council that they adopt a resolution encouraging the state to adopt a plastic bag ban for grocery stores. And so they are hoping to leverage a number of communities to do the same thing. For Exeter to do this, we would need committee representatives. If this group feels it's something you want to do, we would need I would suggest representatives from SAC request time on an upcoming select board agenda, present the reasoning behind it and the language revision, which I can help if that's what we want to do. But I do think SAC needs to be present,
Yep.
at that meeting, and advocate for that. Ultimately, it will be up to the select board.
I think it's long overdue. I think we should definitely do it.
So it's, we're asking the town to sign a petition. So the petition would come from the town, from the select board?
So it's,
Or how
yeah,
does-
it's a resolution that
Okay.
the Town of Exeter Select Board encourage the state to adopt regulation limiting the use of single-use plastics at grocery stores,
Okay.
single-use plastic bags at grocery stores.
So it's not going to grocery stores, and we're not asking them right now, but it's,
They did, as part of their materials that they shared, they did have some talking points for approaching grocery stores.
yeah,
And a draft, correspondence that you could send to that grocery store.
I think that would be kind of good. But, so that would be something that if we as a committee wanted to take on to, what's it called? To have a motion to go to the select board and ask about this petition, and then to actually take some action about it. So how would we do that? Is there someone who is interested and might be able to go to the select board with this?
I'm interested in doing it, just me, but
So that would be on a Monday evening. We meet every other Monday.
yes.
If I give you, I don't think I shared you sent me the email.
It's in the package.
No,
It's in the
In
package.
the meeting packet,
Oh,
it
okay.
had all the correspondence and
Okay.
materials, so
All right,
you all should have had that draft language and hopefully had an opportunity to review it, so
okay.
you know what you're voting to.
Okay. I did read it when it first
Yeah.
came to me, but, so what do we do now?
So you should probably entertain a motion for the Sustainability Advisory Committee to encourage the select board to adopt a petition. To adopt a resolution
To adopt a resolution?
modeled after Durham's.
Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion? Or I can make the motion? Or you just did? Sorry, I'm getting confused.
You can, typically, one of the things the chair can do is propose a motion that would then be, another member of the committee would make that motion and another one would second it. So
Okay. So I will propose that the Sustainability Advisory Committee go present to the select board the resolution modeled on Durham's language to support a statewide single-use plastic ban for the town of Exeter, to support that resolution.
yeah, that's good.
Does anybody want to second that? Or,
Make the motion.
I make the motion.
okay,
Julie.
and then someone second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. And it sounds like Nina is willing to go to the select board in one of the next Monday meetings, and
Yeah,
we
so
can,
You typically ask Nico, the chair, to put it on an agenda at his earliest convenience.
oh, okay.
Chris-
And we still need time to revise the
Yeah,
language, so
yeah.
I'll work with you, Nina, if that's okay, to revise the
You
language.
said you sent it.
Yep,
What, was it under?
the meeting packet.
The meeting packet.
I-
Okay.
Instead of just sending the agenda, I consolidated the agenda minutes and correspondence.
attachment.
Oh, it's up, it's on underneath,
Had
okay.
everything.
Yep.
I missed, okay, gotcha.
But it might be it might be a week, but I can revise
yeah,
the
no,
language
yeah.
for your review.
It might take a few cycles to get
Yeah,
on
I
the
would
agenda
prefer
as
if you
well.
said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, things are pretty clogged right now
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
town meeting, so
Yeah,
we're trying to put everything into play that the voters approve. So.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
So it probably won't be like 2 weeks from this past Monday. It'll probably be like maybe 4 weeks,
okay,
just a guess, but
yeah,
just to give you a time frame.
okay. Like early May?
So we just met on Monday, which was the 31st. I think our next meeting is the 14th, and
Oh, every other, you said?
yeah,
Right,
every other,
okay.
and then the next meeting after that.
28th.
Well, let me confirm that. There were a few
The
Mondays that
28th.
became Tuesdays because of
Right.
holidays.
So we might even have a chance to discuss it at our next meeting, although that's with the Energy Committee.
Yeah.
What did that meeting with the Energy Committee, is that just talking about what we're both planning for the coming year, or
Yeah, so-
just kind of,
When we did it last year, it seemed like there was a lot of collective benefit from meeting and sharing what your annual priorities were and finding places where you can overlap and maybe work collaboratively on some projects.
nice. Okay. Well, that segues nicely into planning, 2025 planning, which you all got the,
Do you want me to bring up the Google Sheet? Because I know some people added to it.
yeah, that would be great. It's somewhere. Yeah, I think many members of the committee added some items.
Actually, I did one during the meeting.
You what?
I just added another one while
Oh,
we're.
okay.
I have no idea.
One thing that's kind of nuts is there's so much. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like sustainability, and that's when I was looking at our mission and, what we're advising about. And, it's good to sort of focus, if we can, on things that we feel passionate about and maybe we feel we can make the most impact, what we're able to do. But I love having a list that includes things at lots of different levels. So, we're moving forward and some things happen more quickly and some things take a longer time. So this is a really good process, and it will be good to check in next month with the Energy Committee and see where there's overlap and collaboration possible. All right, so there is the lovely table. What's the best way to look at this?
How did the items get listed in column A? Is that things that were pending from prior committee meetings?
So the things we started with was styrofoam collection, the joint meeting, and the budget planning. I added those. The other items, the other individuals added, and I added the initials. And then when people continued adding, that trend continued, which is great. So we know who had the idea so that we could talk more about it.
Is the bicycle pedestrian plan something that is a sustainability issue? This came from the bicycle master plan, bicycle and pedestrian master plan came out of planning.
Right.
Is there, in your mind, a need for us to begin to promote it and talk about it or advocate for it?
Can I respond? I think it's entirely appropriate that this committee weighs in on that, and it will promote the fact that it's been done. The voters approved the money to pay for it. Rockingham Planning did a great job with it.
Yeah, it's a nice report.
Yeah, and the full report dovetails nicely with the other report that was done on circulation, parking, and pedestrians in the downtown. So this is a wider report than just the downtown. But,
Right.
yeah, I think it would be great if it was put on an agenda at some point and we had a chance to talk about it here at the Sustainability Committee.
Right.
There's nothing that's more sustainable than walking and biking, so.
And that is part of our mission, is a safe, walkable community.
Yeah.
To move around the community.
It's a great
Yeah.
ad.
And in row 16, it says education material for recycling. I'm wondering if you would think that what you need to do is broaden your concept to, a social media campaign, not just educational materials, but how you promote it, how frequently you promote it. Not just making posters and brochures, but actually coming up with
Yeah.
the hint of the week or the hint of the month, or something that and deciding what outlets to post on, or what we can what's within our domain to post on. Really talking about a communication plan or a social media plan for an educational project. Yeah. And part of that is having people write content, not just you, but us suggesting content that can be put on.
We did address that a few years ago, and we never formally created a plan, but we started something, so.
Like a
It'd be
communication
great.
or social media
It'd be great to
plan.
continue with that. It does take a lot of commitment and people to submit content and, consistently, but I think it's a great idea.
I wonder if that would fit I don't know if I added it, but I was thinking about trying to get a younger person, maybe like a high school student or a younger person in the community, to be a part of our committee and maybe be a social media person. And, they would benefit by experience and, developing a campaign or really sort of being a lead person on that. Because I think that's really, having a social media strategy and a campaign covers pretty much everything on this list. Because we can sit here and talk about things and we have events, but to get them out so that people in the town are talking about it and know what's going on.
Or a UNH student, maybe there's somebody around or who's even
Yeah.
at home. And because UNH has a program that I just found out about that I guess you can tack on sustainability to any major. So there's business majors with sustainability. And
Really?
so two of my employees are UNH students, and they had mentioned that the other day.
Do you think you could find out
Yeah.
if there's a way we could
contact
reach out and
them.
contact and see if there's somebody who's interested in doing that?
Yeah.
Especially an
Absolutely.
Exeter resident. that's in that program. 'Cause
Especially
then they
if-
could actually serve on the committee
Yeah,
Right.
and add that to their
Right.
CV.
right.
Right. Yeah,
Okay,
a little research.
that's pretty cool.
And I think the high school has a Earth Club or an ecology or environmental club, maybe even a high school student, not just a.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you tack that sort of auxiliary duty onto a town advisory committee, but it would be interesting to explore that.
So I will say, the Energy Committee has 2 representatives from the high school that attend their meetings.
Wow, okay.
Their club is much smaller than it had been in the past, but they're very interested in having people come and speak to them. Maybe it would be an option for an SAC member to go attend that meeting. It's very casual. I was there talking about vernal pools last week, and we really spent most of the time talking about like what I do on a day-to-day basis. They're really just interested in, how to explore different field areas. But that could be something that you could go and talk about the Sustainability Advisory Committee and maybe solicit participation from one of them or interest there.
Awesome.
The
Yeah.
majority of them are juniors, so it could be 2 years' worth of connection with that individual.
That sounds great. Maybe when we have our meeting with them in May, we can meet those 2 students who are already on the Energy Committee and make those connections. So what else did people add? Sarah, you had added something about,
I had a few different things. Well, there's a lot of crossover. But public health was one of them.
yeah,
Outdoor recreation, bike safety, does that ties into that, and then the plastic.
yeah, providing alternatives. Public health. What, is there, I should know this, is there a public health officer for the town?
Yeah, we do have a health officer. I don't, her connection to the environmental world, she's running a tick Lyme disease program. She actually was selected to be one of the communities that does swipe testing. So you walk along and you swipe test, and then you test all the ticks that you collect to just determine, and it's multiple times a year, so you
Wow, yeah.
determine the prevalence of Lyme and other diseases. I can't think of any other environmental overlap, but I'm sure there could be. There's a huge sector between environmental health and sustainability and climate change.
Yeah.
There's a group of, I think it's like Union of Medical or Scientists Support, I'm messing it up, but they had a whole speaker series in New Hampshire that New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions collaborated with for some webinars. So there could be an opportunity to host maybe a talk or,
That would be pretty
Whatever.
cool. Yeah. Can we add that to maybe expand 11 or add another one underneath there specifically about public health and sort of, I love that idea of bringing, either publicizing or bringing a speaker or someone to make some of those connections, and maybe finding out from the public health officer for the town if there's any particular things they are interested in that we could support.
Yeah.
Is that something you would be interested in
Yeah, sure. I'm
pursuing?
yeah, I wasn't sure how it would fit in, how my concerns would fit in with this committee, so that could be a good bridge. I was thinking mostly about water and like, knowing that people receive these water letters about what's in their
Yeah.
water and panic. And there is education out there, but I wondered if we could be a resource for them, and like the PFAS situation, that's a growing problem. that
Yeah.
Just learning about,
Yeah.
what's in their wells, and I don't know. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's being addressed by the public health officer, but.
I mean, yeah, water is definitely a resource that needs to be sustainable in many ways. Every time I see SUP, it makes me think about stand-up paddleboard. But what is it? Sorry. SUP?
Single-use plastic ban, I think it's
Thank you.
referring to, yeah.
It can then be used for subs.
Exactly, that sounds more fun, though.
And suddenly, the committee completely veered off its topic.
And do you want us to think about months of the year where we would
Yeah.
have a meeting devoted to it, tackle it? What's the concept of 12 months, spreading things out over 12 months?
So, I mean, my thought for that was probably selfish, but also was
Yeah.
to organize committee effort, but also partially selfish, because I have multiple committees, and so having each committee target May for all of their outreach doesn't
Yeah.
really jive. And so, I would like this committee and other committees to start looking out a little bit, get engaged in the budget process, really kind of start forward thinking so that we're preparing in advance what the plans for the following year might be.
Okay.
I saw that you put a date down for the budget process that's coming up, right?
Yeah.
August?
Yeah, so.
Or we work
So
on-
generally in August is when the town budgets are submitted to the town manager. So that would need if there are, thoughts about the budget, that any items would need to be discussed and vetted at an SAC before August.
So the May meeting's already devoted to joint with energy, but
Yeah.
June and July, those could definitely be meetings where we strategize about initiatives that may require additional dollars that need to be accounted for in the budget. Kristen's responsible for putting those budgets together for all of her areas. And you work with 4 committees, 5?
Broader committees, 3, but they all have subcommittees, so.
Yeah, so having that on the agenda in June and July would be helpful.
Okay.
Do you have your arms around the current budget lines that are in your portfolio, as opposed to showing us the whole budget?
Yeah.
Can you put excise the budget lines that you think are, so we can see what your sustainment costs are, for.
So the line item that I have in mind, that we use for sustainability-related items, is actually Sustainability and Energy Committee items come out of it. The Planning Department has a line item that says sustainability. That amount, I think, was $2,500 and was dropped to $2,000 this past year. So, part of, even if you're not proposing a budget change, this is helpful for me, because when I speak to the budget committee, having a list of what those funds will be used for will help kind of advocate for keeping it at that amount even. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from on.
So this
on
past year, it's not just the budget line items, it's also the capital improvement
Right.
plan. And there were 3 things that you worked on that came out of the CIP. The styrofoam recycling.
Right.
EV charging.
The
Charging.
recharging, and then we also had our hand in on the $50,000, what ended up being $50,000 that was approved by the voters to help upgrade the transfer station.
Do those things then have sustainment tails that then go out into future budget years, or are they one-time costs that will only, I mean, you have one budget item that,
CIP is typically one, I mean, the impact rolls forward, but
right,
it's a
so
one-time
do we
thing.
want to take a look at the CIP things and then determine if there are sustainment tails that would then go into another budget item, another account line?
We should review both the budgets that have an impact on our work and the CIP items that we think have sustainability impacts. That's how we did it last year.
Yeah.
Do you need someone to help you with that? To package that for the committee to look at?
I mean, I could, so the CIP is supposed to be like a 5-year look ahead at what's coming up. We have copies of that.
Yeah, I mean, I could help you, though. I mean,
Okay.
because it's in the town annual report, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I have the CIP from last year electronically, so maybe just looking through that to see what might be coming up, I could send a link to where to find that. And
Yeah,
then.
that lives on the town's website.
Yep. But there will also, sometimes there are things that are put on this current year that weren't in the prior years, like, I don't know, sewer siphons or something happened and we need to take some urgent action.
Well, I mean,
So moving
the
forward.
transfer station project was not in queue and it turned around in a year.
Yeah.
So that's an example of something that turned around quickly. It's an exception to the rule. The rule is generally that it's, things are slotted and then we very, purposefully work through the items that we need to get to.
So maybe starting by looking at last year's CIP, and then when I have information for the current year CIP, I could work with you on flagging those items. Maybe you could provide input on what items you think have an overlap with SAC.
Especially when I'm thinking of things like the styrofoam recycling unit, if that happens, we were always talking about a return on investment. And when you think about the initial acquisition of the styrofoam and then staffing it and operating it and then tracking the return on investment, to eventually say, 5 years from now, it was a good investment. And we should keep that in our mind of demonstrating the worth of this committee to the town.
Yep. And that'll give you more credibility
Right.
with the budget recommendation committee and,
Right.
and the select board, definitely.
Right, rather than, saying, oh, we, have to present something, let's reconstruct our return on investment. We should just make sure that we follow the accounting strings to know what the return at every moment in time.
Metrics are always better than anecdotes. I will, just a plug for Kristen, she is one of the most proficient staff members in terms of the budgeting and budget recommendation process. I've rarely seen anyone that's so effective. And part of the reason she's so effective is that she has a huge reputation
Yeah.
for going out and finding grants.
Right,
So,
right,
we have one of the highest practitioners working with us.
right. It'd be good to support you, though, Kristen, and lean on us if you need some extra help or things like that to do.
Do you ever need help with grant writing or things like that?
Absolutely. I have I'm finishing up the draft styrofoam densifier unit grant application if someone wants to put another set of eyes. I do have Guilford reviewing it.
Someone on this committee does writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking, because we have these meetings once a month, but in between, are there things we can do that support you? And so, I mean, which we're doing, but
Yeah.
that seems like something that we could assist with, just like you say, being an extra pair of eyes and helping with that process.
Yeah, and I do feel like SAC has done that, you know, the
Yeah.
pumpkin festival. Jackie, you make the flyers and, or not pumpkin festival, pumpkin
Yeah.
composting. Sorry, it stayed on my mind, I guess.
Kind of the
But,
same.
you know, I feel like all
Yeah.
of the material production and promotion, SAC has been really great about that stuff. So I just hope, I think just continuing that would be helpful.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we do as much as we can to support you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think attending the select board, so, you know, if the single-use plastics, if moving that forward is on your targeted plan for 2025, being there in front of the select board is
Yeah.
incredibly valuable. I think it more so than just me being there. I think representing your committee is really important.
Awesome. And I'm aware it's now after 8:30, but I just wanted to check about the Alewife Festival. Is there anything in particular? I know you have a whole group of people, maybe?
Yeah, so
Helping
for
with that.
Alewife, the way I view my role is kind of setting the venue. And so
Yeah.
I'm relying entirely on you to develop what your table content will be, communicate with me on what that is, any materials you might need for that, et cetera, so that we can ensure that everyone's not presenting the same stuff.
Right.
And I think this year there was talk of waste diversion being the theme from SAC.
Okay.
And so, you know, there's lots that you're doing in that
Yeah.
avenue. And I think Chetna had mentioned having a bin on site from Helpsy.
From
or
Helpsay.
or maybe not a giant Helpsy bin, but having
Yeah.
something there to collect textiles.
What's the date of the Alewife Festival?
May 10th.
So we can talk about, at that table, at the Sustainability Advisory Committee table, we can talk about the success we had on the 26th of April. And we'll
Yes.
probably want to schedule the next styrofoam recycling so that it can be promoted there.
Okay.
That's been a huge step forward. And we can also educate people about the styrofoam densifier project that they approved.
Yep.
As
That would be a
voters.
good focus for it.
And who's staffing the table at the, would,
The committee does.
okay, so do we,
So we need to talk about that. I don't,
I'll be there.
I will be there.
I would like to
Yeah.
be there, yeah. And we should talk about do you have content, I mean, material that you have put out on the sustainability table in the past? Stuff that we can draw on? Should we develop new content or material for this, you know, like Dan is suggesting, the
Yeah,
styrofoam?
I don't know. I think maybe if I meet with Jim or one or two of you and we go through what was there. Some of the stuff was getting a little older. We had Public Works put together like a Recycle Right campaign, and I think we need to, I think that got a little crushed or something. So
Yeah.
we need to revisit what content you want and what we had. And I'm happy to do that in a
Yeah, I can do
separate.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the focus were
Okay.
just on creating streams that take away from solid waste, if that could be the theme. as you
Yeah,
said, diversion.
exactly.
So composting out at the transfer station,
Yep.
the styrofoam, all the different elements of the styrofoam project that this
And
committee
Helpsy.
is planning.
Like even just those three things, composting, styrofoam, help see.
Yeah.
There's also plastic, I have something on there, plastic packaging. There's a recycling bin at the Stratum Shaw's that collects, when you get the Amazon bags, it has like the little, recycle me, how to recycle. There's a
yeah.
bin in the Stratum Shaw's, and I'm sure there's a metric ton of waste every day for
Yeah.
doing that, so. I was hoping to explore at maybe another meeting, talking about ways to bring that into Exeter more, but that would be
Yeah.
something to talk about potentially. I can send more information after.
Yeah, why don't you share that? And that's good. So we have a lot of material for that.
But making the theme diverting from
Yeah.
solid waste for the Alewife, that would be great. And all the different ways this committee is working on that and how they can join us.
And the cost and that timeline of the landfill, I think that would be huge.
I know.
It's a lot.
It really,
It is a lot, I know, but people just don't, like, when I heard that, you know,
Yeah.
it hits you
Big
hard. when you-
hourglass with little styrofoam.
Can I, if we could have a working meeting as opposed to a formal public meeting where we talk about that information we just got. So
yeah.
it's possible to do that, right? There's a format for not having a formal meeting per se, but more of a roll your sleeves up and let's just really
Yeah.
kick this around. It would have to be in addition to our regular meetings.
Focused on solid, what we heard, solid waste.
Yeah, trying to digest what
Yeah.
that amazing man told us, and how where Dover went with it, and how Exeter might duplicate or maybe do something different.
Yeah.
Well, and so Chetna and Chris
Yeah.
are a solid waste subcommittee to SAC, so maybe, you know, starting there and.
Maybe
any
we could
others.
have the whole.
The whole group,
Or
yeah.
as many as are available.
Yeah.
Come to a solid waste subcommittee meeting. I think.
A
that'd be
working
good, as
meeting of
opposed
the
to
solid
just
waste
saying,
subcommittee.
"Chris and Jenna, you figure that out.
Right.
When is that?
Yeah. We
I
have a
don't know.
schedule. I'm suggesting we schedule it in addition to our regular meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
And talk to Chetna.
So it's a subcommittee meeting
Yeah,
where
Okay.
all members of the committee are invited.
yeah.
That's
All
great.
right.
I have a commitment that I have to take care of, so I'm going to duck out
Oh,
before
okay.
we adjourn, and I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you. And we are wrapping up because I think the only thing left, well, in terms of the planning, so maybe some homework between now and when we meet with the Energy Committee is to look at this list again and think a little bit about how to sort of organize it over the coming year and when we want to do some of these things and how, if they can be combined and,
Yeah, I think it's also possible to create a list of work that we can't do in a single year that would take 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So we have to be reasonable about the things that we, pragmatic about what we tackle and
right.
our bandwidth to be able to tackle it.
Yes. It's great to have a bigger list, but it's important to whittle it down to a list where we can actually accomplish things, as it is with most of life.
Yeah.
All right. Any other business that anyone wants to discuss? I have to say, it's hard to look both ways. Like, I wish our table was like a circle, but can I adjourn the meeting if they're out there talking? How does that work?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed to adjourning the meeting? The motion passes. And that's it?
That's it.
We're out?
You're out.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
tuning
so
in to
much.
Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.